leader leading people in these tumultuous times, you must be wondering, how do I do this? How do I lead my people in the varying states of difficulty and breakdown? How do I be a great leader in this time where I'm having to deal with that level of difficulty and breakdown? And I want to talk about the number one tool for dealing with difficulty. Hey, my name is Marla Skibbins, and I'm one of the team at Level Up EQ, where we take leaders in tech and biotech to the next level of their leadership. If you're new here, please click the subscribe button and like us, and the worksheets or any of the resources that we mentioned in this YouTube will be available. So that number one thing is really an attribute. And that attribute is empathy. And it's an attribute that's gotten a lot of airplay. And yet, often people don't understand how to be empathetic. So I want to take a little bit of time with you today and talk about the elements of empathy, and they're simple, and they're really so needed right now with your family, with your direct reports, with those inside your organization, with those out in the greater world. We need empathy for ourselves and for others. So let's talk about the different pieces that you can actually develop in yourself in order to be empathetic. So the number one attribute for being an empathetic leader is being fully present. And I cannot tell you how many of the people I work with are multitasking. I'm sure you are probably right now, are distracted, are doing 10 things at once at home with their kids. They're not being present with the person that they're with the direct report in the one-on-one. And now that we're in the virtual and doing a lot of phone and or video conferencing, it's even easier to not be present. And even your presence is not necessarily being read as present, because you need to learn to look wherever it looks like you're looking at the person, which means you may be looking at the camera and it may not be you're looking at them. It's about you being present with them, not you getting to see them. So how you develop presence, and one big thing you can do to develop being present is doing mindfulness or meditation. And there will be a link in the comments section to our Leader Self-Awareness Lab, which is a place that you can come and learn about how to become more present. So presence is the first thing, and being present with the person, with what they're saying, with not thinking of other things while they're talking, but actually just being present. And that leads to the second one, which is being, when you're present, is actually listening to them, listening to what they're saying, listening for what they're not saying, or listening in between the lines. It's not listening to what the point is you want to make, or listening to your head going, oh yeah, and I need to get to that next meeting, I need to have that thing, la la la. No, it's listening to what they're saying, because being present and listening, the next piece is actually being quiet and receiving them. And these three things go very close together, because as you're present and you're listening and leaving space for them, you're receiving them. And that's a big piece of empathy, receiving. It's being impacted, hearing what they're saying, first being present, you're there, and you're listening, and then you're receiving. What they're saying is impacting your head, heart, and entire body. And they actually can feel you getting them, you receiving them. An important other piece of this is you're not fixing, you're not suggesting, you're not advising, you're listening and receiving. Now, you might ask questions. That's appropriate. And questions that are open, like what's important about that? Or how was that for you? Or what's the thing that you want me to understand here? It's asking open questions that will help the person feel like you're actually present and listening and getting them. The other piece of empathy is as you're listening, as you're receiving the person in their communication, being curious about it, you can reflect and think about, and this isn't an easy science, and there's so much happening right now in the world where we really can't understand what it is to have someone else's experience. We can only draw on our own experience, which obviously then is flawed because we aren't the other person. We aren't the other person's life and background, but we can imagine being that person. We can put our imagination in that person's life and feel what that might be like. And that is an important step in empathy. It's imagining what would it be like really if you stood in that person's shoes and you did that person's life and you had those events or experiences as you might get a teeny tiny glimpse into what that might be like. Obviously, it's filtered through you, so it won't be entirely accurate, but you might get a tiny grain of a glimpse. And that is another thing that helps build empathy. And when we are received as a human being, as a direct report, as a cross-functional peer, as a parent, as a child, when we are received, really received, something shifts. The relationship gets deeper. Connection is built. And we feel like we have an ally. And it's so important in our lives. It's actually an indicator of success, both financial and personal, if we can create and foster those warm bonds, those relationships that are warm and positive and caring. And empathy is a big part of that, whether you're a leader, whether you're a parent, whether you're a friend. So please, I think the biggest thing you can do is stop being so distracted. If you do one thing, it would be to spend a moment or two every day taking deep breaths. And we have another YouTube where we talk about leader self-awareness, and please feel free to go look at that one. There's tons of resources on how to develop that. So we'll put the link in the comments for that one, but also there will be a link to the Leader Self-Awareness Labs. And those are a place you can come for free and learn to develop your ability to be present with people. And that is really your first step for developing empathy. So go there, do that, please. And thank you for making it to the end of this YouTube. Thank you for your interest in developing empathy. It will so be serving of you, but more importantly, being of service to others around you. And thank you for being a part of our purpose, which is to unleash the magic of humanity. And that's you. And we're glad you're wanting to unleash the magic of your heart and of empathy.